they tend to get more aggressive. If they smell crushed bees, if you're crushing bees, and it goes back to, well, it goes back to nature, where a bear or a possum or something is in the hive eating bees, and that's what they do. They actually eat the bees, they eat the honey, they eat everything. And the more bees are being crushed, the more bees are getting aggressive, because they need to get that predator out of the hive. But you do need to get the stinger off of you, and it's going to tear the bee's entrails out. That scent's going to get sent out in the air. So you do need to get it off. Does that answer your question? Or?
Yeah, I never crush them. I just at that point.
Well, I'm not saying crush the bee.
No,
I mean get the bee off.
I leave it alone because I just want to work fast and get out of there. I'm not going to worry about it.
So I get you don't have a reaction to the stings or.
Oh yeah, last week it looked like I had Botox.
Okay.
My face swelled up. So.
Yeah. So the thing is, if you remove the stinger, that won't happen. If you were allergic, you would stop breathing, or something worse would happen. But that's what. Now this is the studies from UC Riverside. I guess they've done quite a bit with it. But it's the speed of getting the stinger out is real important.
So you don't pull it out?
You can pull it out. You just want to. The other wives' tale was that it was a sac, and when you pinched it, it squirted all the venom in. It doesn't work that way. It won't squirt it all in. The key is to get it off fast in any way, shape, or form. Typically, it's best to just brush it off, and it'll just come off instantly. And so that's what they're recommending. Here's bees up in a palm tree. It looks like a coconut, but really it's a big swarm of bees. They were shaken into a bucket. Bees in a shed. And it just goes on and on. We put it in a box. Put the box in the location where the bees were habitually going into the hive, and it attracts the other bees to go into that box. Then we pick it up the next day.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We have a pool in the back of our house, and on some weekends there are hundreds of bees, because it's a saltwater pool, and they just die in the pool. And are they attracted to salt water?
They're going for water. They're going for a drink of water, and they get stuck in it. They can't get out of it. So there's probably a hive, or there's near you, and the bees are finding their way into the water. Bees need water. They drink nectar and they eat pollen and they make honey, but they actually do need to pull water up to use in their hive or drink themselves. And so that's common in pools.
I feel bad for them, so many hundreds of them just die.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of putting hives in public areas that are away from trails or sidewalks, like in a big canyon at a park or something like that?
I don't know. There's vandalism. The chance of somebody, if it's out in the county area, somebody's probably down to find it and mess with it, kick it over really easy. Or an animal could come along and knock it over, a possum or a raccoon or something like that. They tend, that's how they get in. They go, oh look, it's in there, I can't get in, knock it over, and they'll push it over, and then the bees kind of disperse in a day or two, and then they go rob some honey out.
So it would have to be very secure.
Yeah. A fenced in, it's called a bee yard. You fence it in somewhere. It's better if it's on someone's private land, so you can control the situation.
Do you know if it's illegal to put hives in public land?
I don't know. I know I find lots like that.
I have a question back to the water. Is there not a way of creating something that would be safe for the bees?
Yeah, you can do like a bird bath. You can actually make a bird bath, and you fill it with gravel, and you fill it with water. So now the bees can get on the wet gravel and drink the water.
So
That works really good.
Put something like that near the pool. Would they go there instead of going to the pool?
I don't know. They're going to be attracted to bodies of water. What do you think, David?
Oh, well, you could sweeten the deal for them, get them trained to go into a specific place.
Yeah.
You give them a little bit of sugar, and you sweeten the deal for them, but you don't have to do it all the time. Once they identify a place to be a source of water, they'll keep coming. That's how you get them away.
Yeah, it's a good idea. So attract them with something sweet to that spot. Yeah. I think I talked about this. So I talked about, do we really have a colony collapse disorder? And I haven't realized it myself personally that I had colonies collapse. But I've talked to a number of people, they felt that they experienced that, because colony collapse disorder is that all of a sudden your bees just, they're gone. There's no bees there anymore. They've just abandoned the hive, and there's no dead ones. They just like all flew out and never came back home. So, but I haven't experienced that. But typically in industrial ag areas where there's a lot of things that they encounter, they're going to find that. Urban areas, it's unbelievable how many bees are in urban areas. It tends to be a lot less of those things that affect them negatively. They're in good shape there. There's things that, all these exotic trees and plants and shrubbery and flowers, all year long, they've got things to forage on. And they tend to, in city areas, tend to be a really good place to do beekeeping. There's just something for them all year long. So, talked about all these. So you're gonna run into predators that are in hives that you need to understand those insect behaviors too. You know, there's wax moths. A really strange moth goes in and it eats right through the comb sideways, and it leaves this webbing that the bees can't pull out. It's really tenacious, very persistent webbing. And eventually, if it's not kept under control, it'll just turn the whole box into this webbing material, and the bees leave. They'll chew right through the comb and eat pollen, eat honey, and eat the brood. They're really aggressive moth larvae. So you have to watch it. There's certain ways that you keep your hive to keep the moths out. And you need to check your hives. If moths are starting to get in there, you take them out and you clean it up. And I do everything organic. I don't use any pesticides, but there are products that are there for mites and things like that. Wasps are yellow jackets, can be voracious. They can go in and steal larvae, and they're predators. They can go in and steal some inside the hive. And if it's a weak hive, they can go in there and just really devastate it and clean it out and just kill the hive. So you have to be a little careful. You can put wasp traps. There's a number of things that will tell you in the books how to counteract that situation. Mites have been a big problem in a number of areas. I have seen a few mites, but I've never had a colony die from it. But I've seen a few. Animals can be a problem. Sometimes mice and rats go in there, and somehow at night they can sneak around in a hive and not get stung. I don't know how, but they do. People are a problem sometimes. They mess with your hives. Ants are my biggest problem. Everywhere around the county, if you don't intentionally protect your hives from ants, you're going to run across some situations where ants just start swarming in and really do some damage, and possibly the bees will just abandon it. And bees don't just sit there and let this stuff happen. They're attacking the predator. They're working on the larvae of the moth. They grab a hold of it, and they pull it out, and they fly off, and they drop it. And anything foreign that's in the hive, that typically is their mode of control. They grab a hold of it. They don't like bite it or chew it up. They tend to grab it, drag it out, and sometimes it's multiple bees working on one larvae, or one, say, dead bee, or a drone or something like that. They're dragging it out, and they dump it off. Or they fly off with it, and they drop it. That's what they do with ants. It's amazing to watch them. They'll be on the landing pad, and they'll grab an ant. They'll about face, grab an ant, fly off with it, and then drop it somewhere far away. Pretty neat. I have a lockup. Okay. We're done anyways. So if we have any other questions, there's a few experienced people here.
I have a question. I read about the likelihood of swarming when you have a hive and you really look out for signs that there's bees swarming.
Yeah, there's a number of things that, first of all, you monitor your hive, and you want to make sure you're giving it enough space that the hive can build up to. Plus, you want to see if there's if queen cells are being formed in there. The queen cells. Honey? Queen cells form, and you can actually remove the queen cells. So this is honeycomb that was hanging like this. This funny structure there is a queen cell, that they're growing a new queen. So they're stimulated for one reason or another to grow a new queen.